I wanted to share this good example for Livewire lazy component, which is here the stats. Right now you can see because it already ran once in production. So the value that is being displayed is returned from cache. And it's being returned as a Livewire component, a lazy one, which means it only shows if you scroll to it. It will only do that request, which is right now cached. So first of all, these stats, they're taking a long time to query from the database and return here on the page. So the obvious performance improvement that I went for would be to cache that information. And if this is off by just few digits, it's okay. It's nice to have, but that nice to have should not block the rendering of the landing page. That's why I went for lazy loaded Livewire component. Lazy loaded because we didn't want that to affect the performance and also degrade the experience of the user, because this is the landing page. It's a very important page. But again, at the same time, I feel like adding this stats is adding a lot of credibility to the page and show that this is being used out there. And if you are curious enough, you can come back tomorrow and refresh to see the new number. So pretty simple. I went from querying from the database, getting the data live. The query was slow, caching it, to then don't want this to affect the loading time for this page, to moving it to Livewire lazy component so that it doesn't show. And this is pretty good right now. However, for this application, I have a specific need where the data retention policy is removing any data for any customer unless they request otherwise for any data that is a year old. You don't need that for engine tracking, and you can do the export before that time comes, which means the stats being recorded here might be off, but that is still okay. But what about the customer that left? Because you will have churn. This is a SaaS. When a customer leaves, we probably will be deleting some of this data. Even if it is not anything that we need for accounting, for tax purposes, we might keep like their name and when they paid. But when it comes to their device information, we're gonna delete it if they request for it or they just offboard it a long time ago. Which means the stats that are being reported here might be off by a lot, depending on how many left, for example. And in that case, one way I would be able to fix that is by having device snapshot of every tracker every day, and then doing a sum of that. But I felt like it was just an overkill for displaying a bunch of stats on the landing page that is only shown once. But if you were to really be accurate and be able to withstand a customer coming and leaving, a tracker being removed and a new one being added, that's how we would do it. Device snapshot, some of those snapshot per devices, meaning for per tracker, caching the information so it doesn't hit the database every time, lazy loaded so that it doesn't impact the page loading speed. I just went through all of that. The thought process I feel like is very interesting as an engineer, but this is also very straightforward if you think about it. But I still wanted to share that. Let me know what you think.